All right, so today we're going to dive into Bitcoin and whether or not this is the bottom or will we see more blood in the water. A lot has been happening this week. I know you guys have been wanting this, so we're going to dive in deep. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. Evan has joined us back in the studio, so
Thanks
good to have you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Always fun to kind of dig into your charts and really dive into what's happening in the market. Before we get started, though, I'm just kind of curious. There's a couple of things that are playing into this. And one thing I want, before we get started, is check the market cap. Currently holding just a little over $2 trillion. Could we see this dip under the $2 trillion mark? That'll be an interesting one to play out. Volume at 142 million, and then dominance on Bitcoin up a little bit. If you can kind of look up here at the top right here, 39.7, and ETH holding at 19.8%. We also saw some news coming in that was a little bit more FUD oriented, and that is all built around the hawkish Fed minutes that everybody's been talking about, which I don't understand, Evan. This was released last month. Mm-hmm. This is just the minutes from the meeting that they already talked about, is that we were going to see a little bit of correction in terms of interest rates by March. So why would this, I don't know that this was it.
You know? I don't think it was. Yeah. I mean, I think it's more of the COVID FUD. I think it's more of that.
Yeah, interesting. That wasn't it though. Then you had Peter Schiff piling in on this. Nightmare Bitcoin crash if it collapses through these vital support levels. Basically around 38,000. And then Mike Novogratz comes in and basically says the same thing. He thinks it's going to bottom out around 38. So we got a few people, but I liked your point. Don't trust
the masses never get it right. You know, the fear is at a very all-time high. Look, we can go to those levels. Maybe Peter Schiff gets it right. He's been consistently wrong since Bitcoin was created. He thought it was going to zero when it was at $1,000. So, I mean, look, take it for what you will. We could be bottoming out. Sure, we could go to 38, but there are some signs on my charts. If you want to see my charts,
let's take a look.
We're hitting a major spider line right here. So what I've been doing right now is just going scalp long every time it kind of hits this spider line at about 42.6 and just taking profits really quickly. And then we have our 0.65 fib level right above it. So what we really want to do is if we could hold this fib level as support, then you probably are going to be able to make it up to 44K at the next fib level. What happens after that? Maybe we come crashing back down, but we'll see what happens. Also, if you look at your 15-minute chart, you got these nice little trigger waves right here, these green dots. So when you have a tight wave, these tight blue momentum waves, when they're really close to the zero line of market cipher, that's a strong bullish sign. Also, on some of our bigger time frames, look at the 4 hour. We're getting a nice green dot that was just confirmed. This doesn't happen too often. The last one didn't play out too well, but this could easily take us up to maybe 44,000. Maybe it could be the start of a bigger way up. On our 12 hour, as you can see, looking back here, money flow is still generally coming up. Here we had a little, WAP in it, but here our VWAP is curving up. This could print a green dot relatively soon. These don't happen very often. I mean, look at this last one over here. They could bring us up to, 44,000, maybe even 45, 46,000. So there are some signs of hope here, I would say.
Yeah. So a lot of people looking at the question mark right now of whether or not Bitcoin is at its bottom, and also whether or not this is the end of the bear market, or the bull market, and really moving into what we've seen and talked about in terms of the bear market. Still, everybody pointing to this still being a bull market. What are your thoughts?
I think it's still a bull market, and one of the reasons why is because some of the altcoins are looking really strong, such as Atom right now and Chainlink. Chainlink's been probably my best trade in the past few weeks, made a killing with that. So usually I would think I would be seeing all the altcoins looking terrible too if it was the end of the bull run, and those would be crashing harder. We're not seeing Link crash too hard. We haven't seen Atom crash too hard.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe the bears are right, but I think we have, I think we could go on a lot longer in this bull run.
Interesting. I wanted to show you guys our chart on the sentiment side of things, as this is what we look at, and really kind of have been pulling this for quite some time. We pulled this bottom right here, sentiment had held in. This was back in December 4th when we saw that last big jump down. And then a lot of sideways action, pulled another one back here in December 14. And this was the one that I was a little bit more concerned about. And the reason being was because of this right here. And that was, we started to see sentiment and amplification starting to decline. And that usually indicates there's less action coming into the market, or especially on new investors coming into the market to jump into Bitcoin. And that, because of that, now you're talking about most of the liquidity issues for traders that have basically over leveraged. Right. And I want to show you some things that happened there. But right here, We pulled this sentiment bubble just today, and this one is holding on at 61.94, also falling. But the one that concerns me is this right here, and that is the amplification score, which tells us that people are losing faith, much like the fear and greed. And I just wanted to jump to fear and greed and kind of, if you look at where that is, this is the 1 year. This, of course, is back here on May 11th, somewhat of the 2021 doomsday that we saw drop down to 30K. All that points to this scenario right here in mind. This 41.7 was really kind of the point that I was concerned about across everything, and we are seeing some pressure on that right now at 43.2, even though it is climbing right now. But we do look at potentially a bottom right here, and this is the bottom that's very in line with what Novogratz was talking about around 37. This could happen based on what our data is showing somewhere around mid-January if we don't see a correction moving up.
That would be, I definitely, there is a big possibility with that scenario. Also, you got to think about the Super Bowl is going to have an FTX commercial and a Crypto.com commercial. Those, if we are in the 30s at that point, that would be a great buying opportunity, a good buy the rumor opportunity.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Will Clemente hit on this thing here. I want to jump to his tweet. This was a chart that he showed right here on today's wipeout. Yeah. So you can take a look at the leverage position on this. Still a little bit left. So his theory is that we still may see some more correction here, whether it's short term or it's over the next week or over the next couple of weeks here in January. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely a good possibility. Look, in terms of leverage, there are some people who get away with leverage and do win with it. I mean, look, the stock market's been leveraged for the past 10 years. People have done okay with it. It doesn't concern me too much. Sure, he could be right and we could go down more, but I'm leaning slightly more bullish. I think there's a decent shot we have hit the bottom here.
Yeah. I'm looking at the 24 right here on just some of the projects. The only thing that's been really moving, Mana moved a little bit, a couple of the projects. But if you look at the 7-day on some of these are still in good position. There's your trade right there you're talking about with Cosmos being number one.
And Chainlink, yeah.
And then Phantom holding in there. Let's kind of talk about those because Harmony has been one that we've been looking at for quite some time. Not Ravencoin. Definitely Phantom. We just did a video on Phantom as one of the key projects to look at, even though it has had the correction a little bit deeper cut than what Cosmos had, but 28% up for the week. And then right there's Chainlink, 27. Do you think Chainlink, what's your price point on Chainlink? Where do you think this is going?
I think Chainlink, there's a good, in the next month or next few weeks, $30 is a good goal. That's what I'm really looking at. I've been riding it up for quite a while. Chainlink is interesting because it normally does well in kind of bear markets. I'm not sure why. I think it could just be a fluke, just means it's a stronger project.
Right.
Obviously, there was a lull the past few months even, but I think it will have its day, and it looks great on the technicals. I mean, I could show you my chart real quick.
Yeah,
there's something that's coming up on Chainlink that hasn't happened on a while. If you look at the weekly here, we're printing a green dot on the weekly, and this big fib level, 618 fib level at about 24 is acting as support. The last time we had a green dot here, we came up about 100%. So from that green dot area, it would be 100% from about here. We could come up to $40.
Wow.
I think I would be taking some profits at 35, and 30, but we could definitely come up to $40. That would in the next month or so.
So Chainlink trading currently at $21 or $24. Showing some still movement, and if you look at the performance over the 90, that's still been up almost 20% on the 90-day or the 30-day, up on almost 20%. Okay, so let's talk a little. Some of our audience may not necessarily understand how Market Cipher works, and I want to give people kind of an overview of it because some people may not be going into this kind of trading, but they might use it like I do as a tool for some predictive holds.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. To buy, all right, I see where there's a little bit of movement here. I'm safe because I feel like this might be the bottom. Talk to me about Market Cipher, how you use it. What are you watching for? Explain the green dots and how the VWAP works. Right.
So basically every time, so we look at Market Cipher B down here, I zoomed in on it. So every time the VWAP crosses the zero line, this VWAP is this.
What is VWAP?
It's this yellow line right here.
And it means?
It means the kind of the direction of price, the velocity momentum of price, basically. And when it's starting to curve up, it means you're going to be more bullish. And when it crosses the zero line right here where I'm pointing, that means you're going to get a green dot. Now, it could change. This could just curve back down, but it's pretty unlikely. you gotta like you can look at the previous time this happened. Like we said, it went up 100%. This confirms, and you could look over here on Market Cipher A, this confirms in about 3 days and 7 hours. So the closest it gets to that point, the more likely it will confirm. And you want to look at confluence. You want to look at, while you're hitting this green dot at the same time you're bouncing off of, on regular candles, bouncing off of our 618 fib levels, so confluence with the fib levels. For somebody who's just buying and holding, you want to look at higher charts, like the daily, the weekly, and look at these green dots. I would even say, start maybe the 3-day green dot there. That would have been a good place to try to buy some to hold. Weekly is good, even monthly too. See, the last time we had that green dot, I mean, this doesn't come up too often, but this was January 1st, 2021, when it was at about $14. That would have been a great buy around there. So for a long-term perspective.
Yeah, and I think when people are trying to figure out Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, even though our channel, we have some Bitcoin investors in it, it's kind of one of the stable coins, so to speak, because we have so many people that are looking for either one, altcoins that are really moving. So obviously with what we're seeing with Chainlink and obviously Atom, but also the gaming coins, things of that nature, some of the more risky assets. I was just looking at Clemente's Twitter feed, because I'm always watching whether or not he's going to go back in, and he says he's going back in. So starting to do some buying. Said he would either do business above 53 or in the low 40s, which is where we are. And we're here, and there's been no follow through from yesterday for the bears. If an open interest was aggressively long, we would have seen further cascade of liquidation. So that's interesting.
More people are shorting right now too, with the funding fees from what I've been seeing. So if you go long right now, you're going to be getting money from the exchange. They're going to pay you to take that long.
Right.
It's not a lot, but it does happen.
And I know for some of you, maybe this is not the kind of trading that you've been doing or that you've looked at doing. And one of the tools that Evan and I use is a product called Market Cipher. Not an ad, just it's a product I use. You can find it, just go to Market Cipher. I think it's .com. I'm pretty sure.
MarketCipherTrading.com, I believe. Yeah.
And of course, if you want to learn how to use it, one of the ways you can do that is jump over to Evan's site, evanaldo.com.
Evanaldo.com, I have a course. Yep.
We'll put a link in the description below, because he's got a course on how to use Market Cipher. And if you are looking at these kind of trades, whether it's swing trades or trying to identify where some of this is going, I would always recommend checking out Evan. Also taking a look at what CryptoFace is doing. Pretty much one of the authors of the Pine script that is running on Market Cipher, which is a great tool. Continue to use it. And I use it a lot for swing trade times, which are these times right here, where we see either market shifts that are coming down or see a lot of sideways action on Bitcoin.
Right.
When you look at Bitcoin, let's do a quick prediction, because many people still pointing to Q2, Q3 as an all-time high. Do you feel like that's going to be the like?
It could go on a little bit longer, and what I want to show you is on my my monthly chart and my weekly chart here.
Yep.
So if we go to our monthly chart, or actually we're on the weekly chart. So I think you'll get kind of something like this with these predictive momentum waves, kind of where, look at the momentum wave height here.
Right.
It could be something like this, kind of this time. So it'd be from September 2020 to April, so a little less than a year. And now there is a possibility this could go on until 2023. And if you come up with the momentum wave, something like here and here, that's June. That's kind of the earliest I could see it happening. That would bring us, out to 100 or maybe a little bit more. Hard to say, depending on how much retail FOMO is in at the end.
Yeah.
But on our monthly, it's kind of the same deal with that. It could go on even higher. Say we peek out the latest right now, and it would be this general direction from this height here, kind of February, January, March 2023. Yeah. Could be that long. That's the longest I could see it going.
So pushing that in, of course, a lot of things and indicators would have to play into that market. We'd probably have to see some regulatory measures come into play. We'd see obvious institutional moves. Maybe not, and I think that's what the Fed is doing, is they're trying to talk down the market right now, because with this issue of, hey, we're going to raise rates, we are going to see maybe a point to a point and a half by end of year. And if they do talk down the market, which if you look at Dow, if you look at what the S&P 500 has done, and even the tech stocks, all of those took a little bit of a hit, with exception of the traditional asset stocks, kind of the old school stocks. Those actually lifted a little bit in the last little bit. So even with that, people are saying, hey, listen, I'm not willing to take my money and put it into dollars. I'm willing to maybe reinvest it back into some of their assets like that. So my point being is that The Fed would have to, and maybe I think what the Fed is going to try to do now is they can't have too much of a shift start to hit this market, because that would be, obviously, you're going to see an immediate impact on that in terms of the overall economy and potential
That is a good point.
recession. That's the other thing that some people keep pointing to is we may not be worried about inflation as much here in a few months, and pointing now more towards potentially recession. Now, if that were to come into play, then of course all bets are off at that point, because who knows where it would go from there.
What I will say is it takes time for things to play out. Sometimes you may have a brief deflationary period, then the inflation really hits.
Well, it's
the
like a
market tries to
snowball,
play
too.
games with you.
Yeah, it's like a snowball too. Once you get it big enough and it's kind of on the edge of that hill, and it starts rolling,
Yeah.
oh
yeah.
shit, kind of thing. So, but not that that's FUD or doom. I do think that we are still on a track right now to see Bitcoin continue to perform. I'm not really worried about this dip too much. We may see it hit close to the 40. If it does hit 40, I know a lot of people are saying, oh my gosh, if it hits 40, it's over. I'm not so sure of that. I still think Bitcoin has got a long way to go in where this market is going to trend out to. So anyway, you guys are listening in over on the podcast right now. Make sure and tune in over here on the YouTube channel. It's where you'll get charts like this that Evan comes in and does occasionally. We'll do Bitcoin charts, kind of give you guys some insights as to where the direction might be going. And of course, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, this is the #1 place for all that stuff. Easy to get to. Just search Paul Barron Network and you'll be finding us pretty simply. So also, make sure if you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's just @Paul Barron. If you guys want to catch Evan's course, just click the link below. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.